Hey guys, hello and welcome to Naveed for Speed. In today's video, I am going to be driving this car right here. It's the Lotus Emira. This is my first impressions video, so it won't be that long, but hopefully I can explain to you what this car feels like very quickly. But also in this video, I'll very quickly show you the exterior and the interior of this car, and I'll show you what makes it the car that it is. So if we start from the exterior, let's take a look at this car from the front here. You've got loads of these sort of intakes and this sort of bodywork at the front. It really gives me sort of Ferrari F430 vibes with all these intakes. And as you look further up towards the bonnet, you can see all these sort of sharp edges. It really does, it looks like a supercar, even though it basically is just a sports car. Again, I'll tell you what it feels like to drive when I take it out on the road, but just from looking at this front end, I think it looks really quite cool. When it's driving down the road, when you see one of these on the road, it really does catch you by surprise. It looks different than what's already out there. Looks really quite good. As we move towards the side of the car, you can see it's sat on these Goodyear tires, on these pretty cool alloy wheels. They're 5-spoke alloy wheels, look really nice. As we move towards the side of the car, now this is where things get quite interesting, because you have all these sort of intakes which are actually functional. They feed air in towards the engine. I think it looks really cool, and you can see the sort of general shape, how it sort of comes inwards. Almost quite elegant actually. It's almost like a cinched waist of a person. It looks really quite good. But then as we come further towards the back of the car, you can see everything gets a bit more bigger, wider, feels like there's more power coming here. It looks really quite cool. And then as you move towards the back of the car, now you can see a lot more features. You can see the sort of diffuser area with the twin exhaust. You've got more intakes, or at least where air can come out from, and this really cool sort of Lotus silhouette at the back here. I think it looks really cool. This car really does look every bit a supercar, even though it's just a sports car. I'll show you about the inside now before I take it out to drive. So what is the inside of the Lotus Emira like? Well, actually, I'm quite surprised. The inside is where Lotus have actually improved quite a lot. Gone are the days where you've got the old boring Lotus interiors. I mean, those sort of cars were focusing more on the driving feel. But now Lotus have made this car a little bit more comfortable. I suppose they've made it a little bit more for everyday driving. You can actually drive this car as a daily, and the one I have is the 2-litre engine as well. So it's the 4-cylinder Mercedes engine. I'll tell you a little bit more about that when I take it out to drive, and I'll also tell you a little bit more about the sort of the suspension setup, the chassis that I have. I've got the Touring. You can get this car in a sport version. But let me tell you about the interior, because I have a first edition version of this car, which comes with leather around the cabin, leather seats, and you get Alcantara everywhere, like on the steering wheel and on the headlining. The steering wheel actually is quite an odd shape. When I first saw the steering wheel, I didn't quite like it, because it sort of sits mostly down here and you got this big open space. It's like a weird oblong, and it would have just been more simple to just have a circle steering wheel. But it actually works, because you can see through the steering wheel, and you can see your instrument cluster, and you can see everything that you need to see on that screen in front of you right there. So you've got the driver display in front of you, and you've also got this infotainment screen over here. So you got 2 digital screens inside the Lotus. I don't know where that's gone right now, but let me try and see if I can do something with that. Let's start the car actually. There you are. So you've got the 2 screens. You've got the infotainment screen here. Now the infotainment screen is actually quite responsive, even if it's quite slow, but it responds to your touch pretty well. It doesn't have haptic feedback, but a lot of people have complained that these 2 screens are a little bit dark. I quite like that actually, because especially when you're driving at night, I don't want to be blinded by really bright screens, and I think I can see everything perfectly well. Although when I do drive it and it catches certain light, it might actually not be too great. But other than that, the rest of the interior, let's just turn this car off for a second. The rest of the interior is really well done. You've got some gloss black features around the car, but it's actually done nicely with all the sort of plastic and leather and everything. Oh, there's a glove box. You get a glove box as well, and you've got a tiny bit of storage back here with the USB chargers, and yeah, it's all done actually pretty nicely, and it looks pretty good. The stop start button is underneath this which is supposed to, I think, actually make you feel like a fighter pilot, but still pretty cool indeed. I am thinking that this car will be more suited to driving every day, especially because it is the 2 litre, and it seems like a nice place to be in here. I'll take it out on a drive and I'll tell you exactly what it feels like to drive in this sort of first impressions, first drive kind of video. So what's the Lotus Emira like to drive then? Well, this is my first impressions video, so this is the first time I'm actually driving the car, the first time I'm actually taking it out on the road. And I will tell you that first and foremost, I've got the 2 litre 4-cylinder engine. It's a Mercedes turbocharged engine, so it produces around 360 horsepower. I've also got a First Edition, but that doesn't really mean much in terms of its driving experience. But I've got the touring version, so you can get this car in touring or sport. That basically changed the damper settings and the spring settings, and it basically means that this car is more suited to driving on the road rather than on the track. And with that 2 litre engine, it's more economical than the V6. Now, I've heard that the V6 isn't actually much better in terms of its sound. It is better, but it's probably not by a lot. So is this the car to go for? I'm not sure. It certainly has better fuel economy, and you still get all the drama that you would get in the V6. It's still typically a Lotus. It's got a hydraulic steering wheel, although in the 4-cylinder it's electro hydraulic, so you do feel some feedback from the road through the steering. It's got an automatic gearbox, whereas if you were to get the V6 you could actually get it in manual as well. That might be the one to go for, but with the auto you get slightly more torque. You get 0 to 60 miles per hour in this particular version is around 4.4 seconds, and in the V6 it's 4.2 seconds. So that extra 40 horsepower does not make a massive difference to the performance. Underneath, it's probably still as rewarding as you would expect. It costs, we're talking in the region of £80,000, so it's a lot of money for a car of this class. When you compare it to cars like the Cayman, when you compare it to cars like the BMW M2, the Alpine A110, this is more expensive than them, but it certainly feels and looks more premium as well. It looks like a supercar. Those cars, you get better storage from them, you get slightly better practicality, but this one has the drama, doesn't it? The engine right behind your head, you can hear it the whole time. Accelerating, it just accelerates without any drama. It's just, I mean, I know I mentioned the car has drama, but it accelerates so competently. It accelerates, it turns flat. It just feels good. It feels like it belongs on the road, but the second if I was to take it out onto the track, it would feel comfortable there as well. So yes, it costs more money, but it's more usable on the road. And I think that's probably one of the advantages of this new design era of Lotus. They're owned by Geely now, but so they probably are going to be have some changes, but the core philosophy is still there. It still feels like a Lotus, and I imagine the V6 probably feels more like a Lotus than this does, because it has the same engine, albeit a newer iteration of the engine from the Lotus Elise and the Evora. So yeah, basically that DNA is still here when it comes to Lotus vehicles, but it's just made now for the modern day, and it looks so much better. I can't tell you a lot in terms of how it feels, because I've not really driven the Lotus before this one. This is the first time I'm actually driving a Lotus, but it feels like this is what Lotus was always meant to be in my head. This is what I imagined it to feel like when I was to drive it, just carving up the roads. Right now I'm on a bit more of a straight road, but I know that I have a sense from the feeling of the front wheels that I'm gonna have grip, and whatever I want the car to do, it will do upon my command. So I think ultimately it's been a great first experience in terms of driving a Lotus. I'm just gonna take it around this roundabout now to start heading in the other direction, and you can just see how it grips there. And then it just sounds so good. Even though it's turbocharged, you get that sort of power. The power's not linear. As you go higher up the revs, you sort of start to feel that boost a little bit more. It's pretty rewarding, I think. I forgot what I was saying about the grip. Oh yeah, I was saying about the grip. I know the engine's in the back, so you've got the weight over the back wheels, so you've got that grip. So you would think that the front wheels might struggle for grip, but no, I think there's no problems there. This car does what you ask of it. So if you want a competent car, if you want an iconic brand, and if you want that car to look absolutely spectacular, then the Lotus Emira is one that's definitely going to turn heads. Make sure you check out the Lotus Emira. Thank you very much to Lotus for allowing me to drive this car. Hopefully I can bring you more Lotus content very soon. But stay tuned for more videos. Thank you very much for watching, and take care.